different list. And that one is your option.
Okay, let's start. Mm,
Mhm.
my name is Diana Lizette Echeverry. I am student of bachelor's degree in foreign language with emphasis in English, and I am going to present my mini webinar about artificial intelligence in education, opportunities, challenges, and ethical concerns. Okay. In recent years, many students and teachers have started using AI tools to write texts and correct grammar and translate information and create presentation, explain difficult topics and practice languages. The main purpose of this presentation is to explain how artificial intelligence can support education, but also why it must be um, used carefully and responsibly. Um, First, it's important to define what intelligence in education means. AI in education refers to the use of digital systems that can analyze information, respond to questions, adapt content, and support learning process. Some examples are virtual tutors, educational chatbots, grammar tools, and virtual tutors. And these tools can help students study according to their own needs, read and level. One of the most important opportunities of AI in education is personalized learning. In a traditional classroom, is difficult for a teacher to give individual attention to every student all the time. However, AI tools can help identify students' strengths and weaknesses. For example, if a student has a problem with problems with pronunciation or grammar or vocabulary, an AI tool can suggest specific exercises. Another opportunity is immediately feedback in language learning. The feedback is essential because students need to know what they are doing well and what they need to improve. So AI can provide suggestions about grammar, coherence, pronunciation, and vocabulary. So AI can also promote inclusive education. Uh, for example, when a student with visual difficulties can use text to speech tools, students with hearing difficulties can use automatic caption. Students who struggle struggle with reading can use simplified explanation. And in this sense, AI make education more accessible and flexible. However, artificial intelligence also presents important challenges. One challenge is excessive dependence of technology. If students use AI to complete all their assignments without thinking, they may lose the opportunity to develop their own skills. So AI can help, but it should shouldn't do all the work for the student. Another challenge is the quality of information. AI tools can sometimes provide incorrect or incomplete information or bias, biased answers. And for this reason, students need to develop critical thinking, and they should not accept all AI responses, whether the answer is reliable. So there is also problem of inequality, and not all students have access to good internet connection, modern device, or paid tools. If some students have better access to technology than others, educational difference may become larger. So the ethical concerns are also very important, and one of the main concerns is plagiarism. Some students may use AI to generate complete essays, presentations, or answers, and present them as their own work. And this is serious academic problem because students are not demonstrating the real knowledge. Privacy is another ethical issue. Many AI tools collect user data, and students and teachers need to know what information they are sharing and how that information is used. Bias is another concern. AI systems are trained with large amounts of information, um, and sometimes that information might include stereotypes or unfair perspectives. As a result, AI can reproduce biased content, and teachers and students must be aware of this and use AI critically. So, how should we use artificial intelligence in education? My recommendation, or my basic recommendation, is to use AI as a learning assistant and not as a replacement for human thinking. Students can use AI to brainstorm ideas, practice English, and receive feedback, and clarify difficult concepts. However, the final word should reflect the student's own understanding, voice, and effort. Uh, Teachers also have an important role. They should guide students on how to use AI ethically. They can design activities that require reflection, oral presentation, personal opinions, and real communication. In this way, AI becomes a tool for learning, not a shortcut to avoid learning. In conclusion, artificial intelligence has the potential to improve education. It can make learning more personalized, accessible, and interactive. And nevertheless, it also brings challenge related to dependence, misinformation, inequality, privacy, plagiarism, and bias. For that reason, the future of education should not be based only on technology. It should combine technology with critical thinking, ethical responsibility, and humans values. That is all. Thank you for your attention, and I finish.
Okay, thank you so much. In this, Diana Ferry, I have a short question I'd like to ask you. You mentioned the disadvantages of using AI as replacing teachers, or maybe when our students are using them just for answering, and those kind of situations can affect them. But in my question is, how can you change this downside for having opportunities with our students?
Ay, que no escuché, porfa, me repite lo último.
Yes, based on the information that you share with me, how can you modify the disadvantage of using AI in our classes so our students can use them to have a good opportunity for them?
Mm, que can change this downside by teaching students how to use AI responsibly. For example, um, students can use AI to understand topics, practice exercise, and improve their learning, not only to copy answers. So teachers should guide students and encourage critical thinking.
Sorry. Laura, do you have any questions for Diana Echeverry?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you, teacher. And then
Mhm.
I have a question for you. What is one advantage or one disadvantage of using AI in language learning?
Mm, Laura, I think that one advantage is that AI give immediate feedback, and this can be used for correcting um, or task or grammar pronunciation or vocabulary mistakes. And one disadvantage is that students can become to depend on it, and this can affect their own thinking and communication skills, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's continue with Isa. Isa, yes, let me see who's the next guy. Angie, your question for your partner.
Okay, hi teacher. My question for Diana is, do you think IA can replace teacher in the future? Why not or why yes? What do you think?
uh, Samara, no. I don't think AI can replace teachers completely, uh, because AI can explain topics and give some exercise, and this can be useful for extra practice. However, teachers provide human emotions, guidance, motivation, um, plus emotional support, which are very important in education.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank
Let
you.
me, Isa, your question for your partner.
Okay, my question is, how can AI make class more interactive?
Wait, I think Isa that your microphone is not working. Try to verify with other device, please. In my case, I could hear a little bit noise than you. So, guys, can you hear your partner clearly? A
No.
bit?
¿Ya me escuchan mejor?
No.
Yes.
Try to verify.
Yes. Okay, my question is, how can AI make class more interactive?
Um, Maybe AI can make classes more interactive with the use the quizzes, virtual tutors, practice activities, and I don't know. This can be useful for keeping students motivated and helping them participate more actively in our classes in the classes.
Thank you so much. Let me see, Jency.
Okay, my question is, how can educational institutions prevent plagiarism when students use AI tools?
Um, I think that is very difficult for the institutional educational institutions, but uh, maybe can create clear rules about AI use, and this can be useful for helping students understand what is allowed and what is not allowed. And teachers can also ask students to explain their works and include personal reflections.
Okay, thank you so much. Luna, your final question.
Yes, teacher, I have a question for Diana. This question is, how can AI help a student with different learning needs?
Um, pues AI can help with subtitles, text to speech tools, or simple explanation or personalized activities. Maybe this can be useful for students who need extra support or different learning rhythm or more accessible materials.
Thank you so much. Well, in that case, Diana said, I have a short feedback for you. The first one is when we need to practice our pronunciation. Why? Mm, I'm an English teacher in a private institution, And when they are working with them, I suggest them the option to practice the American accent. But teacher, what is the best option? American accent. In some cases, it is better than other contexts. But why is important to practice the pronunciation there? If you remember, our university has a specific subject or course that is English phonetics. And this one can help us to recognize the pronunciation property in some words, such as you have errors. First of all, when we need to place the pronunciation for ed with with regular verbs. In that case, for example, when the verbs are ending in T or D, the pronunciation at the end of the verb with ed is ed. For example, needed, wanted, and so on and so forth. You had many errors such as personalized, reliable, doing, also inclusive. Other that we need to practice a lot is with education. I know that we are learning during this process, but why it's important to recognize the word with education? In Spanish, we could say education because our conception has that pronunciation in Spanish, but in English, that word is with schwa. For that reason, we need to pronounce like a education. For example, graduation. That one is one of the reasons you can use with pronunciation. Secondly, when we need to talk about the same things during the same position, we can avoid using the noun with replacing noun one-on-ones. Why? Because if you say this can be, but this what or who. For that reason, let me show you this example. I don't like work with that person because one is a bad person. If you recognize, I omit using in the second part of the sentence this person for using one. Continue with filler words. If you remember, filler words is when we are trying to use a specific sounds such as okay, so, and so on and so forth. Because in some cases, when you are using it, maybe the other person is, well, the other person might think you are reading the history to present or expose your point of view. On the other hand, try to change the options to use the same modal verb can. Why? We can recognize that you are expressing possibilities with can, but you could use other verbs, other modal verbs to replace the same can. For example, in some cases, AI can help our students to improve their process. But in other scenarios, this one could have present other option. That one is an imaginary situation, but if you recognize, I combine different modal verbs, other verbs. In this level, I know that we are using the same vocabularies we've learned during A1 and A2. But in that case, if you remember, in Spanish, we can use synonyms to create a variation of different words to sound natural and that we are in a higher level. For example, in some cases, we are using the same students, and we can recognize that one is a student. But on the other hand, we can use a synonym like a learners. students can use AI for improve their languages and as a learners, blah, 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 blah. If you recognize, I avoided using again the same creating that I am alone.
Teacher, se le está escuchando entrecortado, no sé si soy la única.
In English, Luna.
A mí también.
In English, we are in higher level. Okay, let me see. What I am using. Okay, can you hear me good, Diana?
Yes.
Guys?
Yes.
Better. I have no idea. Those days, I have been getting a lot of problems with my internet connection. With you and when I'm working, so I ask you apologize. I try to verify that situation with Tigo. But thank you so much, Diana. Now, let's continue with the next victim, the next student. Laura Giraldo, it's thy turn.
Okay.
Laura, perdón, Laura, ¿vas a grabar tú o paro mi grabación?
No, please. Recording you.
Ok, entonces lo dejo ahí quieto.
Thank you.
In English, yeah.
Sorry.
Girls, please share my.
Thank for the girl.
Yes, this one. Thank you.
What is your presentation?
The before
This?
this one, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. Today I am going to talk about the about a revolutionary way to learn gamifications. My goal is to show how we can transform a boring classroom into an exciting adventure by leveling up our educations. Okay, stop. First, let's clarify something. Game-based learning using a game to teach, like using, for example, Minecraft, yeah? But gamifications is different. It's using game mechanics like points in a normal lessons. It's about turning the process of learning into a game. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, yes. Key elements. Now, let's look at the key elements that make gamifications works. We call this a PBL. Yes, this is the initials names that this works. Triad, which stands for points, badges, and leaderboards. Okay, first, points. Points provide immediate feedbacks. Every time a student completes a small task or participates, they receive a point. This makes them feel that their effort is being recognized instantly. Second, badges. Think of these as digital trophies. Badges are given for specific achievements, like being the best team player or the creative thinker. They represent mastery and give students a sense of pride. And finally, we have leaderboards. These show the ranking of the students. Yeah, if foster healthy competitions and allow everyone to see their progress compared to the all the class or the group. Uh, Three words or together or three elements keep the motivations high and the students engaged. Next, please. Benefits for students. Okay, let's talk about the benefits for students. Why should we use this in our classrooms? First, it significantly increases motivations and engagement. When students feel they are playing, they don't see learning as a chore or a boring obligation. Instead, they become active participants in their own educations. Second, it creates a safe to fail environment. This is my favorite part. In a traditional exam, a mistake is a failure. But in gamifications, a mistake is just a level file that you can try again. This reduces anxiety and builds resilience. And finally, it improves knowledge retentions because games trigger the release of dopamine in the brain. Students are more likely to remember what they learning during fun activities than what they read on a text. In short, happy students learn better faster. Next, please. Popular tools. You probably already use this, like a Kahoot, Duolingo, Class de You, or Quizlet, right? Duolingo, which use strikes to keep to practice a language, in Quizlet for interactive study sets. They are the real world examples of gamifications. Next. Okay, the challenge. However, isn't perfect. It is not perfect, sorry. We must avoid over competitions so students at the bottom don't feel discouraged. We must ensure the game doesn't distract from the learning. The secret is balance. Next, please. Okay, in conclusions, gamification isn't just about having fun or playing games in class. It is a powerful pedagogical strategy that transforms the way students perceive challenges. As a future teachers, we have the mission to adapt to new generations. Our students are digital natives and they need dynamic environments to succeed. My final message is let's stop teaching like the classical times, yes, like a last century. Let's start leveling up our classroom to inspire the leader of tomorrow. Thank you for your attentions. Now I am ready to answer your questions.
Okay. I have a question. Do you think gamification can distract students from the actual content?
Okay, it is a risk if the teacher focuses too much of the rewards and not on the lessons. Students might forget the objectives. The key is to find a balance where the game serves the topic, not the other way.
I have a question, Laura. Can you hear me, Laura?
Yes.
Okay, my question is the next. What is the difference between simply playing and a game and gamification?
Okay, Dianita. Playing a game is for pure entertainment. Ready? Gamifications, however, use game mechanics like a pawns or levers. I said this before. In a non-game context, such as a classroom, to achieve specific learning goals.
Laura, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry for the sound. My question for you is how can gamification help students who are afraid of making mistakes?
Okay. In games, failing is just a part of the process. You can always try the level again. This mindset reduces anxiety and encourages students to keep trying until they master the skill.
Okay, Laura, can you hear me?
Yes, Isam?
Okay, my question is it possible to apply gamification without using technology or the internet?
Of course, absolutely. You can use physical tools like a posters, stickers, happy face, or experience points on the board. You don't need expensive softwares to create a system of challenge and rewards in the classrooms.
Okay, hello, Laura. And my question for you is, what about students who aren't competitive? Does it affect them in a negative way? What do you think?
Thank you, Sammy. That's why we should include collaborative challenge. Gamification isn't just about being number one on a leaderboard. It can also be about teams working together to unlock a common rewards.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
Any more?
Anything else with all the question? No, I think so. But Laura, I have another question for you. You mentioned the many options as teachers tools we can use as always. But how can you implement Duolingo in daily classes?
In daily classes, okay. For example, in the initial moments, uh, only if a school how you say permit bueno use the cell phone uh, in my first moment 5 minutes for use these applications in the initial moments. But for example, in my school, no, I worked in a school. They um, I don't don't let that the cell phone, the students trying the cell phone to the class.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Well, this one is the feedback time. Laura, congratulations. Your fluency and the current, sorry, the coherency was excellent and perfect. But be aware with those kind of situations. First of all, we have two grammar topics that we need to review perfect. At the beginning, we have gerunds and infinitives. If you remember, when we use the infinitive word to, the next verb continue in the basis form. For that reason, don't say or avoid saying we to learning, okay? Secondly, the uses for singular and plural. Why? I have a question, Laura, in Spanish, obviously, and I ask you, apologize. Laura, is logical for you to say in Spanish un puntos?
No.
So I think that is incorrect to say points or
Oh,
points, a point, no
okay.
more. Avoid with that one. Secondly is connectors. As I told you before, one of your stronger ability is when you are continuing with the communication and expressing the ideas. But my advice for you is try to use connectors in order to create a contrast between one and other. We can use as always, for example, but in other scenarios, we can use up on plus side of blah, 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 or on the otherwise, or on the other hand, okay? Mm, I have a question, Laura. Is logical for you to say, yo puedo ansiedad?
No.
So, is logical for you to say, I can anxiety?
No, no.
Exactly. In that case, we need to be aware due to the adjectives just create the context for the person. In that case, we can use two forms. We could say the other person can have anxiety or they are becoming anxious. But we need to be aware with that. Okay? The other one is try to practice causative and passive causatives. Why? Uh, I explained this situation with my students due to how I can say in Spanish we can say, for example, I said to my students not to use their cell phones. That one is one option. But when we use causatives, if you remember, is when someone who is asking the other person to do the action. For example, I could have, you could have said, I forgot. I always make my students not to use my cell phones. If you recognize the causative verb here is not talking about a creative activity. No, just it's a mandatory action. And you use one of the verb to use to describe permissions, but you can use as well other verbs such as allow, and on the other hand, permit is also used as well. Clear, Laura?
Yes. Thank you, teacher.
Thank you so much. Not at all. Let me see. Angie Samara, is their turn.
Okay, teacher, thank you. Okay, one moment. Give me a moment.
No worries, take that time. Meanwhile, Angie is doing that part, my suggestion, a personal suggestion. If you need to work in your houses with a computer, try to have a computer which has a 8 of capacity of RAM to use it. Because in some cases, when you are using apps such as this one, you can see that the presentation is too slowly, okay? Continue, Angie. It's their turn.
Okay, can you see my slides?
Ah, your presentation? Yes, because I can see you as well.
Tami, el micrófono.
And yes,
Sorry,
apologies,
sorry.
but I think myself.
I feel nervous, but sorry. Okay.
No worries.
My name is Andy Samara Castañeda. I am a student in bachelor degree in foreign language with emphasis in English. And today I'm going to talk about the impact of standardized testing and educational inequality. So, standardized tests are used in many countries to measure students' performance in the same way. These exams try to be a fair and objective. However, many times they ignore the different realities and the different contexts and opportunities that students have. In this presentation, I will explain these tests affect not only students, teachers, and schools, especially when there are social and educational differences between rural and urban areas. Okay, and the next slide. Okay. It's important to understand why standardized tests exist. They also help governments identify strengths and weaknesses in the education system. In some cases, the results are used to create educational policy, or I don't remember exactly the word, or provide scholarships and academic opportunities. So standardized tests can provide useful information. The problem is not the existence of evaluation. The problem is the way that these tests are used without consider different contexts. Okay. One problem, or the first problem, is memorization versus understanding. Why? Because many students study only for pass the exam, and they memorize information instead of truly understanding or applying knowledge in real life, because the exam is for measure only the content or topics. Another problem is anxiety and stress. Yes. High stakes exams create pressure for students, and not only for students, for teachers too. And many students feel nervous and afraid of failure because they think that their value depends on a score, but it is not a reality. It is not true, because the value is a different thing. Another important issue is unequal access. Not all students have the same opportunities. It's a reality. Some students, mainly in Colombia, some students have internet access, maybe private classes, books, and family support. And this point is pretty important, family support, while others don't. Mainly in rural areas is different. The dynamic in their families. Okay. In the next slide, you can okay. Yeah, okay. You can look the difference between rural areas and urban areas. First, in rural school, the students, some schools have limit internet access, fewer educational materials, and not enough teachers. In some communities, one teacher teaches several grades at the same time, and it is my case. I am teacher in a rural school in primary, and I am the only teacher in this school. I have students from 5 years old to 12 years old and all grades, and it's difficult, it's different. The dynamic is different in this type of schools. So in urban schools, usually students have more technology, better infrastructure, and more specialized teacher. In some cases, students also have greater access to extracurricular activities and digital resource. For example, in my context, in my work, my students, after class, work in their farms. They help their parents in your activities. Is different in comparison with urban schools, with urban students. In the next slide, please. Okay. I propose a question. So, does a single test truly reflect a student's potential? Really, I believe that the answer is no. A test score cannot fully measure creativity, leadership, communication skills, empathy, or problem-solving skills, for example. This test is impossible that measure these all components or skills or abilities in the students. For this reason, this test results often social privilege more than real academical potential. I think that is standardized tests are limited in this case. Limit the students in the knowledge. Okay, in the next slide, you can, okay. Another important thing or another important issue is that many types of knowledge are ignored. For example, rural students often develop skills relate to agriculture, environmental care, teamwork, and local culture. Is my case. In my context, my students have a big knowledge about agriculture. So also they teach me in this topic. So these abilities are very important in their communities and their daily lives. However, standardized exams rarely recognize this type of learning. The educational system, I think that is the educational system, sometimes tries to apply the same model to everyone. Even communities have different realities and needs. All people are not the same, are different, and the contexts are different. As a result, many students feel excluded because their experience and knowledge are not valued. Okay, another thing in the other slide is, oh yes, is the pressure to achieve. Okay, standardized tests, or this one also affects mental health in school environments. Not only in students, in teachers too. Students can experience or feel anxiety, frustration, and low motivation because of the pressure to obtain good scores are high. Teachers are also affected, and schools are often ranked according to exam results. So teachers may feel responsible for the scores, and it's not a fact, not necessary. It's not necessary for the teacher. It exists a lot of things that in these results, in this score, because of the of this pressure, education can be more competitive and less human, I think. And yes, in the other slide, it's important rethinking the evaluation. So we can, what we can do to improve evaluation. Many experts believe that education should include more inclusive and human forms of assessment. For example, schools can combine exams with projects, not only exams, standardized exams. Schools can use projects, debates, portfolios, collaborative activities, activities that include real life experience. In my case, in my school, we work with projects, but in the test, in the evaluation assessment is different to a government. Hope that in this context, because government evaluate or sorry assess the same way all the students, and it is not the correct way. In conclusion, the next slide, please. You can analyze that standardized tests can be useful. Yes, but they also increase inequality when contexts are ignored. This is the real problem. It's necessary or is pretty important taking account the context. Educational should value different realities and measure growth, not only grades. It's necessary to pay special attention in rural context and the difference between this one. Thank you very much. Now, I will be happy to answer your questions.
Okay, Sammy, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, Sammy. What extent can standardized exams affect a student's academic and work future more than their real abilities?
Okay. So, a standardized exam can strongly affect a student's future because many universities and jobs, but mainly universities, use test score as an important requirement. And sometimes these exams become more important than the student's real abilities, like such as creativity, leadership, or communication skills. A student may be very talented, but a single exam cannot always show their full potential.
Thank
I have a question for Samara. For Samara.
Okay.
Samara, what consequences can a community face when its cultural or local knowledge is not recognized by the education system?
Okay. I think when local knowledge is ignored, communities may feel excluded. And yes, excluded because students can lose interest in their own culture and their traditions because the education system only values certain types of knowledge. Yes, it's a reality, but it's very sad this reality. This can also cause the loss of important cultural practice, environmental knowledge, and community identity, I think.
Okay, Samara, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
Lisa?
my question is the focus on test scores making education lose its human side?
Uh, Isa, yes. In many cases, it is. When schools focus only on grades or rankings, education can become stressful and competitive. Emotional well-being, creativity, and personal growth are often ignored. Teachers may also feel pressure to prepare students only for the exams instead of creating meaningful learning experience, mainly in 11th grade, 10 and 11th grade. Okay.
Okay. In that case, Miss, I have a short question for you. Sorry. You mentioned the advantages of working with our students in order to not present them options to become mm, stress in the moment when we are evaluating them. The question is, to what extent can you do for avoiding anxieties for students with the TDAH?
Oh, okay. Is a difficult case because in the classrooms today are students with this situation or with this different way of learning. And I think that we need to rethinking the assessment. Yes, we need to do or we need to present this exam, for example, in Colombia, ICFES in 11th grade, but really it is only for a ranking. It it don't it don't measure the real knowledge. And with these students, it's important that we, like teachers, um, encourage our students that recognize the real value in themselves, not only for a score. Their value is different. Their value is another thing. And I think that is a task that and we like teachers encourage our students rethinking the education, rethinking the assessment, not only think in the score because it's not the only way to measure your intelligence or your knowledge. I think that is the way, but it's a difficult topic. But I think that is a difficult topic in Colombia, for example.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Angie. Now, feedback time. So let's start with the basics errors that we have been getting at the beginning. Don't be afraid. It's natural when we have errors. And in my case as well, I have been getting a lot. But as an learners, so English learners, it's important to recognize those errors and identify the options to mm, be better in those different options. Okay, first of all, with a grammar part, simple present tense. So Angie, it's logical for you to say in English, it don't.
That's it. That's it.
Well, just okay, okay. Second error, the same error that one of your partners had. It's logical for you to say in Spanish como un profesor es.
No, no.
What was the error there? What do you think?
Oh, no, it's a big error.
Oh, yes, it's an habit due to even that when we are growing word and we have butterflies got in our stomach, it's totally complicated when we need to be focused in the grammar and so on and so forth. Why is the intention to provide you the errors with feedback? Is because if you remember, at the end of our careers, we have to present an international final exam for being graduated. For that reason, if we can continue with B2, for example, and not pass to C1, maybe we have errors and we can't be graduated. Okay, it's for that reason. A third one is in your presentation, you wrote memorization. Memorization is a noun, but after that, when you use BS or versus, you mention understanding. Grammarly and in writing part is a little bit unaware. Why? Because you mentioned one noun and one action verb. So it sounds weird. In that case, teacher, what should I have done? In my opinion, that you need to use that I understand that you wanted to use two verbs actions. You could have said such as I forgot memorizing versus understanding.
Understanding. Teacher,
Yes,
sorry, or maybe I can use memorization and understand, or no?
yes.
Yes.
Oh, clear information. Yes. It's for that reason, as I told you before, don't combine them. Well, in that case, connectors. When we are using connectors, is because we need to create the contracts between one idea to another. I know that we have been using as always because
Because.
for a reason, and I understand you that in some cases it sounds repetitive and uncomfortable to hear. In that case, you can use connectors to express reasons or ideas, such as we could have used as a result, to sum up, in order to, given that, and so on and so forth. Those ones helps me avoid using the same kind of words, okay? Thank you so much. Other, it
Thank you,
was,
teacher.
we have two errors. First step, two? Yes, two grammar errors. Remember, when we use some or any, those ones are quantifiers for non-countables or for plural nouns. For that reason, if you said some school have, maybe could be possible with the verb have. But given that some is used for plural countables, we have to say some schools. Other is, when you say while other, remember, is other option you can use properly with others, and we need to use in some cases particles with verbs. For example, when we need to talk about relate, we need to say related on or relate on. Uh-huh. Thank you so much. Let me see. Luna Cruz. Thank you so much, Angie. Luna
Thank
Cruz
you,
is
teacher.
that turn.
Okay, teacher, give me a 5 minutes, please. Can you see my screen?
Yes, literally, I can see my face. Literally, I'm seeing double thought.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
¿Tienes ocupado?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Luna Cruz, and today I'm going to talk about a very important topic: the impact of social media on mental health. Mm, today, many people use social media every day. Mm, Platforms like Instagram, um, Facebook, and TikTok are part of our daily life. Social media helps us communicate, share information, and connect with others. Um, Connect with others. Mm, However, um, it can also affect how we feel and how we see ourselves. Um, in this presentation, I would talk about the positive and negative effects of social media on mental health. And I will also share my uh, personal opinion. I'm sorry, it's my dog. um, First, mm, let me explain this concept. Um, Social media are digital platforms where people share um, photos, videos, and message. And in the other hand, mental health is about um, how we think, um, how we think, feel, and act. It includes emotions like happiness, stress, um, anxiety, and confidence. Social media and mental health, these concepts are connected because what we see online can influence our emotions and behavior. Mhm. Now, uh, let's talk about the positive effects. Um, One positive effect is communication. Social media helps people stay in contact with family and friends, even if they are far away. Another benefit is access to information. People can learn new things, uh, follow educational page, and stay informed about the world. Also, social media can create communities. People with similar interests can connect um, and support each other. For example, some people find emotional support in online groups when they feel alone. However, social media also have negative effects. One common problem is comparison. Yes, People often compare their lives with others, especially with photos that show perfect lives. This can make people feel insecure or unhappy. Another issue is addiction. Yeah, many people spend too much time on social media, which can affect their sleep, studies, and relationships. Bruno. Um, also, also, also social media can increase anxiety and stress. For example, people may worry about likes, comments, or opinions from others. Finally, there is also cyberbullying, which can seriously affect a person's mental health. Sorry. Now, let me give some examples that real life. Mm, Many young people feel pressure to look perfect online. They edit photos or try to show a perfect life. Yeah, some students spend hours um, scrolling and lose time for homework or rest. Mm, Also, some people feel sad when um, they post do not get many likes, sorry. These examples show how social media can influence and um, emotions in real life. In my opinion, mm, social media is not completely good or bad. It depends on how we use it. Yeah, if we use social media in a positive way, it can help us learn and communicate and feel connect. However, we need to be careful and limit the time we spend online. It is important to remember that what we see on social media is not always real. Um, we should focus on our real life, our goals, and our well being. In conclusion, social media has a strong impact on mental health, and it has positive effects like communication and learning, but also negative effects like comparison, stress, and addiction. For this reason, it is important to use social media in a balanced and responsible uh, way. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, okay, guys, it's turkey time. So, who was that guy who's posing in front of our camera, Laura? Yes, I have eyes in air on you, literally. So, let's start. Who has the first question?
I have a question,
Or for
teacher.
finger crazy? Who?
Teacher, I.
Okay, let's start, Diana.
Luna, do you think social media is more positive or negative?
Mm,
Luna.
I think social media is both. Can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Yes.
Okay, I think social media is positive and negative. It is positive because um, it helps people communicate and learn new things. But um, in the other hand, it is negative is if people use it too much or comparing themselves with others. So it depends on how um, we use it.
Thank you so much. Yes, thy turn, Angie.
Okay, Luna, my question is, how can we use social media in a healthy way? What do you think?
Mm, how can we use social media in a healthy way? Mm, we can use social media in a healthy way by mm, limiting our time online. Also, mm, we should follow positive content and avoid toxic page. It is important to take breaks and spend time in real life with uh, family and friends. I don't know.
Thank you,
Next
Luna.
question. Well, meanwhile, you are
Luna?
thinking. Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, sorry.
No,
Luna,
no,
why do people feel bad when using social media?
Um, people feel bad because they compare their lives with others. Um, Also, they may worry about likes and comments. And sometimes they see, I don't know, unrealistic content that makes them feel insecure.
Okay, Luna, can you hear me?
Yes.
Luna. Okay, my question is, what is your personal recommendation for students?
Mm, my personal recommendation for a student is um, to use social media with balance. Yes, students should focus on their studies and not spend too much time online. Also, they should remember that social media is not real life. Yeah.
Luna.
Okay, okay. Yes, Laura.
Okay, I have a question for you, Luna. Luna, how much time do you spend on social media?
Mm, I spend about 1 or 2 hours on social media every day.
Okay, okay. I have a question for you, Luna. The question is, which strategies can we use with our students to prevent them that social media contents aren't real or real?
Teacher, can you repeat? Sorry, I can't hear you.
No worries. So the question is, hmm, which suggestions can you present us to prevent our students for real and not real contents in social media? Luna, lunera, cascabelera. Ladies, is just me, but can you hear
Teacher,
me? Ah, yes, finally. I was thinking that I was alone. Thank you, Luna.
can you respond the sorry, I can respond these questions? Yes.
Yes.
Mm, I think that suggest that viewers asked us to explain the difference between um, real and unreal content.
But which strategies can we use to present to our students for teaching them that those social media informations are real or aren't?
Mm, I think that the students can identify the real um, information like or with the strategies like read uh, the information and compare this information with others information. I think that
Oh,
this is the more effective strategy for the students.
okay, okay. Thank you so much. Luna, one of the biggest part that you need to practice is the pronunciation. I know that we are afraid of talking, and I understand, and I agree with you. But if you try to recognize one of the biggest parts we need to be careful in presentations, not with me, with others, even when you need to present maybe important projects. But our emotions can be noticeable. Why? Because if you try to face my expressions, and for example, well, this is my life, and I love my life. How do you feel, guys, with that example?
That is a lie.
Exactly. So I understand that that you are afraid of this situation, but always we can't be happy. But our expressions, our moods can be reflected to others. So if we are studying here to be teachers, maybe could be different. Always we cannot be happy, as I told you before, but always my tone of voice, my expressions could be different when we are trying to not talk about faster, but clearly with emotion, because in some cases we can, or our students will be lost on the situations we have. Okay? Secondly, pronunciation. It is important to practice. For example, you mentioned also, and I know in Spanish we can use the vowel a like with open mouth and express the word a. But in English, that one is also. If you recognize here, I place my lips like a o, but I didn't say o. I say also. That one is one of the situations we need to practice. Secondly, no, third one. Be aware with relative pronouns. Relative pronouns makes me connect or create a completeness sentence based for the subject. Why? I know that we can use in Spanish, we can use donde to express comments for information. But in that case, one of the relative pronouns we can use to express comments is I forgot which. For example, social media platforms, social media are platforms where can be addicted. Yes, I know in Spanish we could say donde, like where, but given that we are expressing opinions, not talking about places, we need to use which media platforms, which can be addictive for others. No more. Thank you. So I.
Teacher, you are freeze, I think. Your screen or your your image. Ah, yes.
Yes. Can you see? Can you see my beautiful face?
Yes, yes. I can see your
Thank
beautiful
you.
face.
So, well, thank you so much for that information. Is Isa's turn. Talk. Isa.
Sorry. Um, Jensi, can you hear me with the presentation, please?
Well, we can't see yet the presentation. Oh, maybe in my case I can't see it. No, no. No worries. Yes, we can see the presentation.
Is this?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Um, Good evening, everyone. My name is Isa Maria, and today I will talk about how augmenting reality enhances flip learning in the classroom. Nowadays, technology plays a very important role in education. Teachers are constantly searching for innovative methods to improve students' learning experience and make class more interactive. In these presentations, I will explain how augmenting reality is, how flipped learning is, and how combining these two strategies can create more engaging and meaningful learning environments. Okay, first, talk about augmented reality, also known as AR. Augmented reality is a technology that combines the rolled world with digital elements such as images, videos, animations, or 3D objects. Students can interact with these elements using devices like smartphones or tablets. For example, students can scan an image and immediately see a 3D model on their screen. This makes learning more visual, interactive, and engaging. Augmented reality is especially useful for helping students understand difficult concepts more easily because they can explore information in a dynamic way. The next slide, please. Okay, now let's move to flipped learning. Flipped learning is a teaching methodology that changes the traditional way of learning. In traditional educations, teachers explain the lessons in class and students complete your work and how. However, in flipped learning, students study the theoretical content before class through videos, readings, or online activities. And then classroom time is used for the seconds, teamwork, problem solving, and practical activities. This method helps students become more activity independent and responsible for their or learning process. The next slide, please. And the next. Okay. Augmented reality can significantly improve the fluent learning experience. Okay. When students study at home, AR makes educational content more interactive and attractive. Instead of only reading or watching videos, students can explore interactive 3D models, simulations, and visual activities. These help students understand the content before coming to class. In the classroom, teacher can use AR activities to encourage participation, communication, and collaboration among students. As a result, students feel more motivated and engaged during the learning process. In addition, this combination supports different learning styles, especially visual and kinesthetic learners. The next, please. Okay. A practical example can be found in English language learning. And home students can use augmented reality applications to learning vocabulary and pronunciation through interactive activities and 3D objects. Then in class, students can participate in speaking activities, role plays, and collaborative exercise using the vocabulary they studied before. And this process improves communication skills, pronunciations, participations, and confidence in the classroom. It also makes students feel more prepared and motivated during the learning activities. The next, please. To conclude, augmented reality and flipped learning are powerful educational tools that can transform a modern classroom. Augmented reality makes learning more visual and interactive, while flipped learning encourages students to become active participants in their educations. Together, these strategies create more engaging, collaborative, and meaningful learning experience. And future education, it is important to explore innovative methods that improve teaching and learning in the digital age. Thank you for attention, and now I am happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Isa. Isa, I have a question for you. Okay, Isa. How can augmented reality improve to learning experience in the classrooms?
Okay, augmented reality can improve the learning experience by making lessons more interactive, visual, and engaging. Students can explore 3D objects, animations, and digital content that help them understand difficult topics more easily. And it also increases motivation and participation during class activities.
Thank you, Isa.
Isa, I have a question for you. This question is, what are the main benefits of combining augment really with flipped learning?
Okay. Mm, okay.
Yes.
Combining both strategies can increase student motivation, participation, and understanding. Augmented reality makes the content more interactive and will flip learning allows students to use classroom time more effectively, and together they create a more dynamic and meaningful learning environment.
I have a question. Isa, why do you think flipped learning is different from traditional teaching methods?
Okay, flipped learning is different because students study the theoretical content before class using through videos or online materials. Then classroom time is used for practice, discussions, and collaborative activities. These make students more active and independent during the learning process.
Okay, I have a question, Isa. This strategy, I think that is very good. I have used in my school, but I want to ask you, do you think all schools are prepared to implement this technological strategy? Why or why not?
No, that schools are fully prepared because some institutions do not have enough technological resources or internet access. However, many free applications and digital tools can help teachers start implementing these strategies and gradually and creativity.
Thank you, Isa.
Well, Isa, my turn, literally. Isa. Based on your presentation, you mentioned one strategy we can use with our students. In my case, in some cases, when we are, or well, when I am with mm, basic levels, I try to use flashcards. My question is, do you think AR can replace flashcards in the future? Yes, no, and why?
Mm, I think AR could complement flashcards, but not completely replace them. Flashcards are simple, practical, and very useful for basic levels, while AR can make learning more interactive and motivating. But strategies can work together depending on the students, on the student needs and the classroom context.
Okay. Thank you so much, Isa. Well, in that case, I congratulate you. Literally, you use one expression in your presentation. I didn't know it would be possible to use. And that word, guys, if you remember her presentation, was augmented. And this one is one of the option we can use to refer something made greater, larger, stronger, or with more interns by adding to it. Secondly, that one is the first part. But now, the options that you need to practice a lot. I have a question, Isa. ¿Es logical for you to say in Spanish? Bueno, en estas presentaciones, ¿es logical? No. Why? Because you said in many cases in these presentations, and I didn't have, why I didn't know the idea you will explain many presentations, maybe many slides, but not presentations. So be aware with the coherence for those words. Secondly, the pronunciation. Remember, we need to be aware pronunciation because those ones make us understand the difference between words. So, for example, guys, is similar to say papa and papa in Spanish, yes or no? No, because in Spanish we need to be aware with the pronunciation of those words, and is the same in English. Why? Because if you say, well, based on this information, we need to true, and I say verdad, I didn't understand. When you need to talk about a través, the pronunciation is through. If you recognize, is TH sound. And that one is similar when el Pato Lucas estaba hablando de esta manera tan fastidiosa. For that reason, we cannot say tree. If we remember, tree is audible, but 3 is the number. Be aware with that one. Other part is with when we need to use the suffixes ly. Ly helps me to create the biggest part we need to use or entire information. But the pronunciation can be omitted for the vowel. I know in English the spelling part is completely, but we can remove the last, the vowel before ly and we could say completely. Other part, kinesthetic or kinesthetic? Yes, it's because I was thinking that, what is that word? Thank you
Yes,
so much.
yes,
Well,
teacher, thank you.
guys, it, not at all. Ladies, guys, ladies, Let's review. Literally, for the first group, this time tense was completed for you. If you wanted, you can continue with the session, or you just leave this session as well. It's up to you, okay? We are finished with you, and we need to continue with the other ladies. I think that it was ladies. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. Let's start for the others who are here. Ladies, ladies, and I think that, and there is a man. Well, so guys, let's start. Let me welcome it to, sorry. I need to, it's totally complicated when it's costume to use the same script for my students where I work. Yes, where I work. Blah, blah, blah. Let me welcome you. My name is Joan Hernandez, and today I'm gonna be your teacher. In this opportunity, Americans. I am not here. I'm gonna be the teacher. Well, your monitor for this session. In that case, based on the webinar information, I need to share with you some rules you must follow in this session. First of all, is thy responsibilities or is thy responsibility to record your sessions or your webinars. For that reason, given that you need to record thy sessions, cameras must be turned on every single time. That information is for Lina, Juliana, Angie, William, Jennifer, and Maria Fe. Maria Fe? Well, and, well, let me see.
Teacher, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And me, my presentation.
Yes, I was calling you for that reason. Well, Jency, it's thy turn. Let's start. Yes, it's totally complicated. I have a lot of students. We have.
Okay. Thanks. Hello, everyone. My name is Jency Cortez, and today I'm going to talk about the danger of missing information online. This topic is very important. Important noted because social media has become part of our daily lives. Many people receive information from platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X without verifying if it is true or false. In this presentation, I will explain what misinformation is, why people believe fake news, how it affects society, and what we can to do prevent it. Today, the information spreads extremely fast thanks to the internet and social media. Although technology helps us communicate and stay informed, it also allows false information to spread quickly. Many people believe fake news because it usually creates emotional reactions, such as fear, anger, or surprise. This is dangerous because misinformation can influence people's opinions, decisions, and behavior in society. For this reason, it's important to learn how to identify false information online. The next slide, please. What is misinformation? Misinformation is false or inaccurate information that people share online. Sometimes people spread fake information internationally, but Other times they simply don't know that the information is false. There are many examples for missing information, such as fake news articles, edited photos, or videos, false medical advice, and misleading headlines. The social media platforms make this problem bigger because information can reach millions of people in only a few minutes. Nowadays, many users share contents immediately without checking reliable source. Can you the next slide, please? There are several reasons why people believe misinformation online. First, fake news usually creates a strong emotional reaction when people feel afraid, angry, or shocked. They are more likely to share information quickly. Another reason is that many users choose viral content. People often think that if a post has many likes, comments, or shares, then it must be true. The next, please. Okay, thanks. Misinformation has serious consequences in society. One important effect is confusion because people receive contradictory information and don't know what is true. It can also create fear and panic, especially during a situation like pandemics or political conflicts. Another effect is social division because fake news can generate arguments, discrimination, and hate between groups of people. During the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, a lot of false medical information spread only online and creating confusion in many countries. This demonstrates how dangerous misinformation can become. Can you the next, please? Okay, even though misinformation is a serious problem, there are ways to reduce it. First, people should verify information before sharing it online. It is important to compare different sources and check if the information comes from reliable websites. Another solution is developing critical thinking skills, and people should question what they see online instead of believing everything immediately. Can you do next? Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.
Okay. Yes, Angie Castañeda, the question.
Okay, Jency, you mentioned some effects or consequence, and my question is for you, why is misinformation dangerous in the society? Why is misinformation dangerous?
Okay. Misinformation is dangerous because it can manipulate people's opinions, create fears, and spread confusion in society.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Jency.
Okay.
Why do people so easily believe fake news?
Can you repeat next, please?
Why do people so easily believe fake news?
Okay, people usually believe fake news fake news because of emotional reaction and because many users do not verify information before sharing.
Yancy, can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Yancy, my question for you is, why is critical thinking important?
Critical thinking is important because it helps people analyzing information carefully and avoid believing everything they see online.
Okay, Jency,
Another
can you
question.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. How can students avoid misinformation?
Students can avoid misinformation by checking reliable source, comparing information, and thinking critically before believing online content.
Jency, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think social media companies are responsible?
Maybe yes. I think social media companies have responsibility because they should control false information and project users for misleading content.
Hi, Jency. How can teachers train a student to recognize misinformation?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. And sorry. How can teachers train students to recognize misinformation?
Okay, yes, a teacher can train a student to recognize misinformation. They can teach them how to verify sources, analyze information critically, and identify fake news online. Another question? That's it, no more?
Yeah, Nancy, who is...
Okay.
Okay, Jancy, my question for you is, have you or someone in your family believe in fake news before?
Okay. Yes, I think everyone has believed fake news at last once. In my family, there was a time when someone shared false information on WhatsApp without verifying its fears. Later, we discovered to the information was not true because it come from a unreliable source.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Another question more, guys. Guys, sorry. No. Well, Jancy, feedback. Let me see. The first feedback is when we need to talk about people. Remember, in English, we have irregular nouns. Irregular nouns are changing depend if the noun is singular or plural. For that reason, avoid please not use the same peoples. People is totally incorrect word. For that reason, you have to say people. People. Secondly, we need to practice the pronunciation for words. For example, I know in English the word right is identify, but the pronunciation is identified. Other error is dangerous. Dangerous, Jency? No. In that case, we need to practice the pronunciation like a dangerous. Is for that reason the pronunciation important. Other thing is recognize. Recognize in English, the pronunciation is on some word. The pronunciation is recognize. Because it's ending with Z. And finally, practice the grammar part with verbs and particles. For example, we could use believe, but when we need to connect believe with other characteristic, other information, or extra information, we have to say believe in. That one is the particle. Thank you so much, Jency. So, any questions, ladies?
No,
And as I
teacher.
told before, no worries. And as I told before, this environment finished for the first group from 6 to 8. If you want it, you can continue stay here or leave the session. Yes, Luna?
Teacher, where I can find this record?
Due to one of you, well, as I told you before, the responsibility for recording the sessions or your webinars were up to you, not ours, because that one was the instruction for the tutors. I think one of you recorded the information previously, so at the end of the session, I think that the information could be shown. For that reason, try to verify. Clear, Luna? Okay, so ladies, thank you so much. And as I told before, if you wanted, you can continue with the session here or leave this one. Thank you so much, Luna,
Thank you,
Jency,
teacher.
and not at all.
Thank you,
It
teacher.
was a
Bye.
pleasure.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye.
Thank you, teacher. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, teacher. Have an excellent